Reggie Miller was on the call last night for Nuggets Clippers. Game 1, he's doing the Bucks Heat Game 3 tonight at 6:30 Eastern. He's got the Nuggets Clippers Game 2 tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern, all on TNT. Obviously very busy and still has time to shoot a Wendy's commercial, Reg.
They let me out of the bubble just to shoot that Wendy's commercial. And I was in the Wendy's bubble. Now I'm back in the NBA bubble. Life is good.
What's the reaction been to your Wendy's commercial?
Well, people are wondering, why am I wearing the IU Candy Stripers like warm-up? They're pajamas, but they look like they're the IU warm-ups that the Hoosiers wear. I'm like, well, I'm an adopted Hoosier. If there's anyone who could wear those, it would be me.
Are there more commercials?
As of now, no. Hint, hint.
All right, so take me back to the final seconds there with what happened with the Raptors and the Celtics. And I know Jaylen Brown's taken some heat. I thought it was a brilliantly called play, but what did the Celtics fail to do that created that brilliant play?
Absolutely nothing, because Jaylen Brown is doing what you're supposed to be doing with 0.5 on the clock. He was dropping because I think the first option was to look over the top to Gasol in the middle and try to get a tip-in play. So he's sagging down low. Look, Lowry made an unbelievable pass, and OG Anunoby made an unbelievable shot. Look at the contest by Jaylen Brown as well, because he was in the air contesting before OG was releasing that shot. So I don't know why Jaylen Brown is taking heat, because you've got to be able to make multiple efforts defensively, and that's exactly what Jaylen Brown did. He digged down low to help on the potential lob to Gasol, and he contested an unbelievable shot by OG. So I don't think the Celtics, I mean, it hurts. I've been there. It kind of reminded me of the Larry Johnson 4-point play that he made versus our Pacers in that series. We came back to win the next game, but it definitely deflates you a little bit, because the Raptors season was on life support until that shot. Now they're feeling a little bit better. They got to even up the series, but let's not forget, the Raptors have been in this position before. Just last year, they lost the first 2 games to Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals, and then went on to win 4 straight and advance to the finals. So let's not be surprised what Toronto is doing, because they've been here before.
Yeah, I criticized Jaylen Brown a little bit. I didn't think you could throw an alley-oop to Gasol. He has no lift whatsoever. I thought that Boston's big man, whoever...
Taco Fall?
No. Thies, is that?
Yeah. Daniel Tice.
Yes. So he should have been, I thought he's the one that got a little lost, because he should have just been, glued to Marc Gasol. And then that would allow, because Jaylen Brown was sort of in no man's land, and then they lost track of OG, who ran the baseline and snuck behind him. It was a brilliantly run play. I just thought.
I don't think if you're Jaylen Brown and the rest of the Celtics, they probably assumed, with Taco Fall guarding Lowry out of bounds and that 7'5", 7'6" frame that he has, they did not think that Lowry was going to be able to see OG Anunoby in the corner.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably why he was helping a little bit more on Gasol underneath.
Watching the Bucks and the Heat so far, and what we've seen, and then all of a sudden down 2 games to none, now all of a sudden Richard Jefferson comes out and says the Greek freak is Scottie Pippen. He wouldn't say this if they were up 2 games to none.
No, obviously not. And I think it's I don't see where he's coming from. I can't say that, because Giannis is about to be a 2-time MVP, and he's arguably the best player in our game right now. I know LeBron is probably still the best player, but the guy's getting ready to win a second MVP trophy. And if he needs a Jordan, I would want to know who that person is that's better than Giannis right now that help him get over the hump. It's a catchy catchphrase to say, that he needs a Jordan because he's Pippen. But
and then you had Jay Williams, who came out and said that LeBron was Pippen.
Was D Wade's Pippen. I mean, and LeBron's like, hey, why y'all putting my name? Keep my name out of y'all's mouth. Look, there's a lot of things that Coach Bud and Milwaukee needs to do to get back in this series, because we saw the same script last year in that Toronto series. Once you can build a wall versus Giannis, keep him out of transition, keep him away from the rim, make him a jump shooter, and if all else fails, foul him and send him to the free throw line. All the flaws, all the warts start to come out in playoff basketball. You and I talk about this all the time. Yeah. People can be great during the regular season. He puts up unbelievable numbers, MVP numbers, right? You don't get a chance to game plan for someone like you do in a playoff series where you're seeing a team constantly and in this environment every other day. They're building a wall. They're making him a jump shooter. And if he makes threes, if he makes long twos, you shake his hand and you're going to lose the game anyways. But keep him out of transition. Keep him away from the rim and dunking. And if all else fails, foul him and live with him making free throws.
And you've got game 3 tonight on TNT. You had the Nuggets and the Clippers last night. When did you realize that this was going to be lopsided?
I knew that Denver would play well in the first quarter because that adrenaline and that rush coming off that Game 7 victory over Utah. So I knew they would still be up, but I knew they would be tired. Yeah. And the Clippers, obviously, they've only played one game in the last 8 days. They've had a chance to look at both Utah and Denver and game plan and scout and prepare. So, look, what we saw last night from the Clippers is what we have been hoping for all season. They've had injuries, people missing time in the bubble, but collectively, Doc has his team playing the best basketball that I've seen. This is the Clippers that we envisioned. Defensively, contributions from the bench, the length. It's setting up Clippers, Lakers. I know the Lakers getting ready to start their series tonight versus Houston, but this is what people are now starting to kind of see between the two LA teams.
Jamal Murray in games 4, 5, and 6 against Utah averaged 47 a game, shot right. 64 from the floor. Game 7 against Utah and last night, averaging 14.5 and shooting 33% from the floor.
Welcome to being a scouted player.
Yes.
Right? you put up numbers like that, people are going to start popping in a tape and, doing their homework. We all knew he was a good player, but he elevated himself to a great player from those numbers you just mentioned. And teams are now scouting and game planning for him. And the problem he has in this series versus the Clippers, there are so many players that can guard him with length. Pat Beverly is back. Paul George. Kawhi Leonard started the game on him and has length. So you've got the 2-time Defensive Player of the Year in Kawhi and those arms and that length. And then if he is on that high screen and roll able to beat him, he's driving into length into Zubats and Montrezl Harrell, Marcus Morris. So that's the problem that Murray is going to face when he's going against the Clippers, is all that length and all those guys that are able to guard him.
We talked about this yesterday with the call on Goran Dragic on Chris Middleton's shot. Terrible. And also with the Greek Freak with his foul on Jimmy Butler. I don't know if that was a makeup call, Reg, on the Greek Freak, because I never would have called, Dragic with, invading the space of Middleton. Middleton is going into Goran Dragic's space, and even Doris Burke said at the time, no, you can't call that. And I don't. Was that a makeup call on the Greek Freak with Jimmy Butler? Do you make that call in the first quarter?
You make it in the first quarter, but it is a makeup call.
Okay. You think that was a makeup call?
I do think it was a makeup
Okay.
call.
Right.
People don't want to say that. The league probably doesn't want to hear that, but it was a makeup call. The Dragic call, in my opinion, was terrible.
Are makeup calls good?
Well, it feeds into the narrative which we've always heard about the NBA, that the officials always say there's no such thing as makeup calls, but our eyes are seeing the two plays because they want to say that Dragic crowded Middleton on his shot. Okay, and here's the thing. If that's the type of defense and you can't crowd guys, you can't contest, shoot, I would have averaged 45 points in today's game. If you're not going to crowd me, if you can't get under me, if you can't touch me, and I got a clear sight at the rim, for shooters like me, that's a holiday.
Yeah.
So I thought they were two bad calls. I understand. Look, what the officials have to go through in today's age of replay, and everyone's at home with a remote, being able to rewind back, they never get the benefit of the doubt. So I get the calls that the officials, what they have to go through. But those were two very bad calls.
Reggie's got Bucks and Heat game 3 tonight. That starts at 6:30 Eastern. You got the Nuggets and the Clippers game 2 tomorrow night at 9. Your reaction to Steve Nash getting the Nets job?
Good for him. I really do. I think he's a great basketball mind.
Surprised, though?
Is it what?
Surprised? Were you surprised?
Yes, because he was on no one's radar.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, no one thought he wanted to coach. I knew he was an advisor, with Steve Kerr and, the Golden State Warriors, but no one thought that he wanted to coach. And I think this came out of left field. And, I've heard Stephen A's comments and stuff like that. I think it's always great when you have Hall of Fame type talent who wants to coach the younger generation, because Steve Nash has a lot to give and say to up and coming young players in today's NBA. So, I'm not as upset at people saying, well, Mark or Ty Lue or Jason Kidd or Adrian Griffin, these guys, they'll get their shots, they'll get their calls. I think it's good to have Hall of Fame talent at the top spot, leading these guys.
Yeah, he's not the first guy who stepped out of a job or stepped into a job that didn't have head coaching experience. He's not the
I was under two of them.
Yes.
Larry Legend in Indiana and Isaiah Thomas in Indiana. Both had zero experience at coaching at any level, and we were fine. We were, I did okay. I wasn't like, why are we hiring, these are Hall of Fame. I played against both of them. And so it was great for me to have a chance to learn under both Larry Legend and Isaiah.
But KD wanted this to happen. That's why it happened. So if Stephen A has a problem, then he should have a problem with KD bringing in Steve Nash or management. But this is Kyrie and KD had to co-sign on this.
And if I'm Steve Nash, I think the biggest key out of all this, who will be your top assistants? If I'm Steve Nash, I'm reaching out to Alvin Gentry to be my associate head coach.
But he's got Jacques Vaughn. I think it's great that they're keeping Jacques Vaughn. I think
so too. But you've got to, for your first gig out, you need someone who's had a plethora of NBA experience. Alvin Gentry, who was just let go in New Orleans and is familiar with Steve Nash from his Phoenix days, who's a lifer in the NBA. I would make him my associate head coach.
All right, so you have the Lakers against the Rockets. Is this what the Lakers wanted?
Yes, absolutely. And I think I would be surprised if this goes more than 5 games. I think this should be a gentleman 5-game series.
Really?
Because the Lakers should beat up, because of their size, the smaller Houston Rockets. The way that Houston finished that series versus OKC, I was very disappointed. I know they got by. I think James Harden and Russell Westbrook, they look tired. They have not had a lot of time to rest coming into game 1 tonight. It could be very much the same thing we saw last night between Denver and the Clippers
Yeah,
in
but
game
Reg,
one.
we say this about James Harden every single playoff.
I know. You're right, but I just think it was a perfect setup for. I would have been more worried if the Lakers would have faced OKC versus Houston, and that's odd to say when you've got two guys that are former MVPs, just because of the way Chris Paul and those Thunder have been playing. I think this is.
Are the Rockets regressing?
They are who we thought they were. You know, they're playing small ball, and you're going against a giant team. And if Anthony Davis doesn't average 30 and 13 in this series, something is wrong. 30 plus and 13 plus rebounds. He's got to average easy.
I'm leading the charge to get rid of the 3-point line for one season because I'd love to see what the NBA would look like and play like if I took away the 3-point shot.
That's never going to happen.
Oh, I know, but let's say I did it for a 5-year period. Like the big man would be a big man.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because
Giannis you would still have big men taking
long twos.
Right?
Yeah, but they lose their value.
Well,
I'm trying to bring the big man back, Reg.
Good luck with that. Those days are gone, buddy. Those days are gone of Hakeem, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, Rick Smits. They're gone.
What would they be like now?
Hakeem could play in today's game. All the guys I just mentioned, because they were able to face you up and at least make, 15 to 18 footers. All could face you up, but pretty much they were back to the basket players. The guys I just mentioned would still be Hall of Fame players.
What would Shaq be like today?
That, I still think he would be dominant, but he could not bully ball like he did in the 90s. I know that. He couldn't, I don't know. He would still be successful. That would be a good question. I would love to see that. He would still be dominant.
What if he was playing at his current weight?
I still take Shaq. Shaq is the biggest man on the planet, man.
No, Yao Ming is the biggest man.
Yao is the biggest. But when Shaq walks into a room, oh my God. When Yao walks into a room, he is the room. He is the room.
Did John Thompson recruit you?
No. He recruited the other Reggie Williams.
Oh.
I know that it was a sting to my heart. The three Reggies that draft class, Reggie Lewis, Reggie Williams, and myself. And I was the lowest of the Reggies. It went Reggie Williams, Reggie Lewis, Reggie Miller.
But Patrick Ewing almost went to UCLA.
I know.
That was his second choice.
Almost had him. But good old John Thompson. God bless his soul. Great man.
I was watching Iverson play against Connecticut and Ray Allen the other day, 1996, I think.
Wasn't that a great matchup?
God, well, Iverson dominated, man. And he was so good on defense. Like he had 6 steals in the first half. Like Iverson is still, he's one of those transfixing. I appreciate Jordan and those players. There's certain guys that come along and you go, there's just nobody who's been like them or since. And Iverson is one of those guys.
Pound for pound, right? We talk about that in boxing.
Yeah.
Pound for pound, one of the toughest guys for his size. And to me, Jordan is a cultural icon. I think you've got to put Allen Iverson in the same category because he changed the landscape of things.
And the look and the feel, the tats, the cornrows, just everything about him. I think the 3 guys you look at, you got Jordan, obviously. Steph Curry changed the NBA. And
Correct.
Allen Iverson. Those are probably the 3 guys I would look at in the modern era. I mean, you could do Bird and Magic. They helped. But singularly, I think Jordan, Iverson, and, the way Steph Curry plays basketball.
Well, he brought he made the 3-point ball fashionable. And every team now is patterning their game after Golden State, but more importantly, Steph Curry.
Great to talk to you, and we'll be watching tonight. It's Bucks Heat Game 3, 6:30 Eastern, and then Game 2 tomorrow night with the Nuggets and the Clippers. Thank you, Reg. Have a great weekend.
I appreciate it, Theodore. I'm sending Wendy's breakfast all to you guys there.
Whoa,
you guys are all getting Wendy's breakfast. They're sending them right as we speak.
We got to get the Danettes in your next Wendy's commercial.
We all should be in the bubble together.
Yeah,
We're
great.
family.
Great, yeah. Yeah, instead of you bringing your family and you're going to bring in the Danettes.
You are my family.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Bunk beds for everybody. Thank you, Reg. All right, we'll take a break. Play of the day is up next here in the Dan Patrick Show.